All right, welcome everyone to the new Money Media Mentoring Program, call number 5. And I'm your host, Omar Briones, along here with Mike Hayes. And I want to reintroduce ourselves real quick. I have 1,000 clients in my Rolodex that I've helped build build their funnels with messaging, branding, and sales funnels, webinars, etc. So my specialty is in helping you perfect your pitch and your branding. With Mike Hayes here, has 30 years experience in the media industry, and he's also helped over 1,000 inventors pitch their products on national TV, and he's done thousands of interviews with people. So he's a master at that. So what this program is, a reminder, those of you who are watching the replay who have not been here before, this is to get you on our radio show called New Money Radio, and it's going to be promoted over 170 stations around the world, including ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox, giving you the positioning of a leader in your industry. Whatever you do, we're going to make sure that you are in that level of being an authority and a leader in your industry. All right, so these calls are to prepare you, help you get ready, and we've been having great success so far, and now it's really getting awesome. So those of you watching the replay, this is the final free call we have available for you to allow us to give more attention to the paid members. All right, anyway, let's get started. Cool, so as we do usually, we're going to start with a little bit of a review, and I'm just going to jump right into it, because there's a lot to cover, and I want to really, this call is really to give you an opportunity to practice a lot more, practicing your interviewing and practicing adding all the skills and the little tips that we've been giving you, and using the tools that we've been giving you to make your interview, stand out and make it leave an impact. All right. So let's, I'm going to start sharing my screen. Now we're gonna, again, I'm just gonna jump right in. This is the homework assignment here. Let me just put this in. All right, so does anyone know what these are? Does anyone want to just say, what did I just put in here? Anyone want to just share?
I will.
Go ahead, thanks.
So these are things that the homework was to get a list together of maybe 10 things and whittle it down to 3, and then whittle it down to 1 of things that you would get asked in a radio show, so you're not thrown off and you can respond with authority and confidence to the questions.
Sorry, I was muted there. Yeah, great job. That's exactly right. So when you have a list of these type of things, these are what we call talking points. They're the main points that you want to share in your interview, or what about your message, or whatever it is. And when you have them already ready to go in front of you, you have them written out, and you practice them as well. You start getting them in your brain. All of it just comes out so quickly and easily and fluently, and you start to create these sound bites, or these sayings that you constantly say everywhere you go, that really brand you and your message, as an expert, or as someone who knows what you're talking about, an authority. All right. So the USP, now here, let me get another quick show of hands. I know I did this before I started the recording. How many of you have done the homework? Just raise your hand. And how many of you have had some struggle or some challenges coming up with these ideas? Raise your hand. Okay. Cool. Thank you. And it's totally normal. That's why what I want to do today is I want to kind of maybe help you out with these lists. Maybe there might have been a little confusion of the assignment, or it's just kind of like really tough to come up with them. So first, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of review what each of these are. We're going to review it together, actually. I'm going to call on you to speak up and give your definition. And then I'm going to just get some examples from you guys, and see if they're good. How do they come out, when you say it out loud? And we'll just give some feedback. Everybody's going to give feedback to that person speaking. So let's go one by one. USP and UVP. Oops. That stands for unique selling proposition, unique value proposition. Anyone want to give their definition of what that is? If not, I'll call on you. Melody, go ahead.
I'd unmute myself. I put for unique value position is to take complex things and make them into simple to follow processes.
Well, hold on a sec. Hold on. We're not giving examples. That's a great one, by the way. I like that. But
we're
just
defining them.
I want to see if everyone knows what these are. So we're
okay.
Right now. Yeah. So what is a USP or UVP?
UVP is unique value position, which makes you what you're bringing to the table that makes you unique from everybody else.
Right on.
And it's the same with unique selling position, which is USP, which is how you're selling the product, which is unique from everyone else.
Right on. It pretty much answers this question here. Why should I work with you, or why should I hire you instead of your competitors, right? So these are things that, make you unique, as Melody mentioned, and things that tip sales into your favor. All right. So the other thing is shocking and controversial facts. Just, let me hear from you. What do you think this is? Becky, I'm going to call on you. If you can unmute yourself. So what is a shocking and controversial fact?
These
Like,
would be
what
things
does that
that
mean?
wouldn't be common.
Sorry, say it again.
Right? Things that you wouldn't expect it to be the case, right?
Right, exactly, yeah.
Not common.
All right. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. So shocking and controversial facts. Great. Let me ask a follow-up question regarding shocking and controversial facts. What's something that you should always mention when you are talking about these shocking and controversial facts, especially if it's going to, if it's really something that goes against people's opinions? What's something you should definitely include in every single fact you have if you want to be credible? Becky, you want to try?
I don't know what you want me. I don't know the answer to that. So.
All good. Anyone else want to give it a shot? It's real simple. It's going to be very obvious when I say it. Something that you need to talk about, you need to mention every time you say a fact in order for it to be credible.
The source where you heard the statistic from.
Yes. Great. Thank you. That's exactly right. Do you guys hear that? Did you guys get that? Yes? Yeah. So Carl is saying no. Are you talking to us, Carl? Are you nodding for us? Okay. Yeah, we can't hear you, but anyway. What Melody said was that you always want to cite your source. So always cite the source. I don't even know if that's spelled right, whatever, just sources, okay? And then the myth bust. What is a myth bust in your definition? Let me see. Someone else who has not answered. Let me just check. It says that there's 6 people on here. Who else is on here? Mike, is there someone in the audience that's not a panelist?
Let me look.
Yeah, there is. Hope. I got it.
Oh, attendees, yeah.
So Hope, I see you there. Well, actually, you might have to come back on. Hope, are you able to talk? Can you say something? All right, I guess not. All right, well, I want to hear from you guys. So, Melody, what is a myth bust?
A myth bust is it's like a misconception that everybody thinks is true, and you're going to bust that. You're going to tell them something opposite of what they think is true.
Right on. Awesome. So yeah, exactly. And how would you phrase that? Let me see if you remember the little formula I gave.
I'm sure I have the formula somewhere, but I don't remember it off the top of my head.
All right, I'll just say it. So most people believe or think this, but the truth is this. It's that simple. So when you're saying your myth bust out loud, get used to saying it in this format. It's just, to help you say it in a complete sentence, out loud. All right. Now, the next thing, skeptical questions and objections. Of course, we kind of, I know this is kind of elementary. Everyone knows what a skeptical question is. But like, why would we, here's a better question. Why would we want to know the skeptical questions and objections? Anyone want to give an answer to that? Carl, I unmuted you. Why should we know the skeptical questions?
You want to anticipate questions from the interviewer or anyone calling program, anyone who's in the listening audience, because what causes most conversations to go on is a challenge, is back and forth.
Right on, exactly. Great job. So you actually want your interviewer to say these things. Most people cringe when they think of the idea of a skeptical question coming up, or they have this anxiety building up. Oh no, I hope they don't ask this question. But when you get asked these questions, they put you at that level where, you're not one of those people avoiding the question. You actually know that this question is something that people will be wondering, and you're actually facing it forward. You're facing it head on, and you're giving your answer to them. So it pretty much allows you to stand out, and it answers the questions that the listeners are asking in their head. So it's just a great, thing to have. Okay, so let's see. And these are skeptical questions related to you, your background, everything about you, and also your topic and everything. Let's see. Just want to make sure we're on time. Okay. Then the next here, problems, micro and macro. We didn't go over this too much. So I want to actually kind of educate you on it right now. This is a kind of a bit of a new lesson now. All right, some of these we didn't even mention before. So problems, micro and macro. This is how I want you to phrase it in your listing, okay, in your list. So a problem, let's just say, I'm going to make this up completely. Let's say there's a problem with the new tax law. Again, this is probably most likely, it's 100% not true. Let's just say the new tax law, because of the new tax law, it caused this problem of people or business owners that are not they're not up to date, and they're not able to, or let's just say now they're being audited all this money and they can't even afford to pay it, right? So that's the problem, right? It's imaginary, but let's just say that's the problem. The macro version of that is saying, in 2018, the new tax law has been released, and it's caused 99,432 people or business owners to get audited by the IRS, and has also caused 2,432 people to become to lose their completely lose their business, and all of their employees become unemployed overnight. Right? That's a big macro problem, talking about the bigger picture, how it plays out all over the United States, right? And then the micro version of that is like, so for example, one person named Jason has lost his entire income, has lost his entire business, and his family, they ended up breaking up, had to find new homes, and now he's living on the street without a job, right? That's a micro problem for that person, Jason. It's a specific, smaller, zoomed in version of that same problem. Do you guys get this? It's a way of telling a story of a problem on a macro and a micro. Now, how this would appeal for you, if you're, let's say, Melody, you have this real estate thing. You're teaching real estate agents how to, grow their business. Think of like the macro problem, that there's some kind of problem related to real estate in the new world. Something's happened, and then it's caused a lot of disruption around the whole industry. And because of that, people like, just give one example of one person or tell one story of one family or whatever that, is having this other little problem in their world. Mike, did you have something to say? I thought you were, I just want to check.
Just that Lucy's joined us.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, that's all.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. All right. So does everyone follow that problems? Yes or no? If you want me to, help you out more, we can do that. Just want to make sure, because this is really big. The problems, knowing the problems that you can talk about, it's extremely important, when you're getting interviewed. So does anyone have any questions? Just unmute yourself if you do before we move on. Just want to make sure. Yes, no, good. Okay, good. Cool. So, all right. Sound bites. And sound bites. Again, these are those type of things that would be continuously built on. That you're going to continuously add little sound bites that come to mind. Things that you can, save for later that, just sound really good. Let me just check. Does anyone want to give a definition of a sound bite of what I mean here? Just unmute yourself if you do. Mike?
A new economy needs a new type of chamber of commerce.
Nice. Yeah. That's a great example. So, things that kind of sound a little bit of a jingle or like a rhyme maybe, or just really things that can stick in someone's head. That's the goal. So when you say it, it stays in their head, like, it can repeat over and over that soundbite, right? So I don't know. Let's just call it repeatable. I don't know. Spelling.
Memorable.
Yeah, there you go. Memorable. That's what I'm trying to think of. Memorable sayings. Great, thanks. And then success stories. These are like, I don't know if you knew this yet, but this was a little bit of a bonus that I wrote on there. You don't have to have this, but it's good to have this as well. If you have any stories, success stories of yourself or your client. Okay. You guys got that? And then humanity is, this is another thing that was kind of a bonus. We didn't really touch on it too much. Really, it's, they're just things about you. What humanity is, what I mean by that is things about you and your story, things that you can say that show that you are human, that you're not just talking facts all the time and numbers and stats and logical stuff, but to show that you have a human side, that you care, right? So it could be things about you, like, working with nonprofits, for example, or a cause, or things that you care about outside of business. Your family, right? Family stuff. Anything related to your personal life, whatever is the case, just have some, things that make you, human. I don't know how else to explain it. Does anyone have any questions about that? Yeah, go ahead, Becky.
I do, because it's been my experience that when people are not perfect, they're more human. And I wanted Mike's take on that. I mean, when people don't say everything just exactly perfect, it makes them more human and more relatable. I think so, but I wanted Mike's take on that.
I think that's vitally important. I think the more people, share their shortcomings. I used to say to people, in business, I've made more mistakes than anybody has a right to and stay in business. And because it's reality, and we learn from our mistakes. But I think you almost have to, I think it's a great point, Becky. I think you have to kind of reach out and talk about. But you can also use it to forward your, a sales agenda. You can admit to things and, put a positive spin on them for you, what you learned. And that's really why I'm in this. I went through a lousy divorce and, my husband left me with the dog and the car that broke down and, the real world stories that we hear all the time and break our heart, but we've all been there. And so, it's nice to know that you can really, it's nice to build faith in other people. The best encouragement we can get is to encourage somebody else. So I think to share our shortcomings, our humanity, I just think it's really, really important. And I think, not doing that is like waiting for somebody to find it out. They're looking for it because they know you're not perfect, right? And so it's like, whoa, she's not talking about, does she want me to think she's perfect or what? Or, is because you want people to feel like there's not them and you, it's us. We're together. We're here together. We're all the same. And we want to help each other. Just like, doing to others as you would have them doing to you. What would you want in your situation? You want somebody to help you, to be honest with you, to encourage you. That's what people want. So I think I think that's kind of my take on it, to use it up front and get it out of the way, and then you won't be afraid of it.
Right on.
Progress, not perfectionism.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that is an example, Becky, that could be used, is if you just talk off the cuff. That's one thing for sure. We don't want you to sound like robots, you guys. So, I'm giving you these little models to help you as they're training wheels. Okay. Consider them training wheels. Oh man, I freaked out.
Can I give a couple of other quick ones here?
Sure. Go ahead.
Real quick. Always think local. If you can come up with a local angle, if you're on with a local station, well, the real estate in Chicago, if they're a Chicago station, or the real estate in Des Moines. And the other one is dates. Let's say you were about, romance or the summer coming up for Lucy, you want to get in shape or something, or, or around Valentine's Day or something. So if you can, tie it into a date, that's important too. Sorry.
That's good. Definitely true. Good tips. Thanks. All right. So, as I was saying, Becky, like making mistakes, that does make you human. And, but you do want to have, you want to be professional as well. That's why we're training you here. And as I was saying, we're giving you training wheels. We're giving you tools you can use. They're like models, but really we want you to sound like you, we don't want you to sound like me or like Mike or anyone else. You have your accent, your way of speaking, tonality, all that. It makes you unique, So, again, we're giving you models, but how you weave it all in is up to you. And that's what's going to make it unique and make it special, All right. And of course, that's also part of the humanity. It makes you human, All right. So remember, Mike, if you can just keep an eye on the attendees, because I know people keep coming in. But anyway, let me see.
Good.
We've got a few minutes now. Let's see. So let's just go ahead and give some opportunity for you guys to share. Hold on. I'm trying to remember the time. Yeah. FYI, you guys, Mike has a very special appointment to go to at the end of this call. He's going to run off, but so we're going to just give about 15 minutes right now. For the next 15 minutes, we'll be working on this exercise. We're going to share these out loud with each other, and then we're going to start the interviews a little early today. So then Mike can go run off, and he'll stay on his phone, right? So anyway. I just want to give you a heads up. So let's get into this, you guys. Who wants to go first? Who wants to share what kind of list that you've come up with, and things that I want you to choose from your opinion, things that you think are like the most impactful, the most important and shocking. And then while you go, everyone else, I want you to listen, and I want you to raise your hand. And actually, you know what? Not just make a note. Just make a note on your notepad for that person. If we can just support them, and make a note for each of the facts or the talking points that stand out to you. Okay, and we're going to be totally supportive of each other, and not sugarcoat anything, or be biased about anything. It's all about helping them with exactly what we really believe would stand out. Okay, so let me just check. Who wants to go first? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Anyone wants to go first? If not, I'm going to pick on you. I'm telling you. All right. Well, okay, Melody, I'm going to pick on you just because you're the first one on my screen. So,
okay.
All right, Melody, here's what we'll do. Out of all of these, there's a lot of them. Which one do you want to practice with us today first?
I think probably the skeptical questions would be useful for me.
Okay.
Go over.
Okay, great. So go ahead and share. And while you do, remember everyone else, just make a note on your notepad which ones of these questions stand out to you. And by the way, Melody, how I want you to do this is ask the question and then answer it. Can you do that?
Okay.
Okay. Cool. So let's go ahead and choose since just for the purpose of saving time. How about we choose your top 3 that you think are like the best of the best?
Oh, that's good because I only came up with 3.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
So the first question is, does your system really work? And the answer is that, I guess let me put it this way. I'm co-creating the system with my students. I'm attempting to fill a void that hasn't been properly filled by anybody else. So we're still in testing phase right now, and we're not going to know how it's going to work out. It's a big experiment, but we're going to modify it based off of what our students say and what their feedback is.
Okay. Let's go one by one, actually. How many of you now, by a show of hands, feel that was on like, let's just say really, really impactful, or needs help, needs work? One of those choices. So if it's really, really impactful, raise your hand. Just raise your hand, you guys, if you think so. And Curtis, I'm not able to see you, and Hope as well, I'm not able to see you. Okay, pretty much no one raising your hands. Is that what I'm seeing? Okay, Mike, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I'm going to drop the definition of a mastermind group into the chat box, because what Melody just described is the definition of a mastermind group. Peer-to-peer mentoring, and it's a classic. It can work for you so powerfully and so well. So when you read it, I'm going to drop it in the chat box. Real short and sweet, but I think you should know it.
Right on. Okay, cool. Anyone want to give any suggestions to Melody? Go ahead, Becky.
I didn't think it was horrible. Just I like the fact that she was honest about it's in testing. We're gonna modify it based on feedback from you, the person doing the group or doing the studying. So I like that part of it, the honesty, the humanity, and the integrity there.
Right on. Great. Okay. And all right, so I'm gonna share my feedback. I don't see anyone else raising their hand. So
hey, Omar, this is Curtis. I thought
Curtis.
it was an impactful response to the question, with the honesty and the fact that she's not saying that it right up front that it is going to be one thing or another. It's going to be based on the feedback of the participants.
Right on. All right, cool. So Melody, that's what everyone else is here saying. You heard it, from them. I I agree. I think it's a great, it's very true. It brings out a lot of the humanity, that you're honest and you're, saying it's just getting started. However, I will say that it was not impactful to me, and I'm going to be harsh. I'm just saying, cause I have a lot of experience in this. I'm going to tell you the truth. It really isn't enough. It felt like, like you really don't know if it's going to work or not. So me as a potential customer, why should I even risk it? I should just wait till it's more stable, or I know for sure it's going to work, right? So instead of saying that, in my opinion, what I would do is, you definitely had the right track by saying that it's a brand new program, and you're going to be be improving it with the group. But I would make that more valuable. Actually, you might think of that as, like, some people might think of it as a bad thing, but it's actually turn it around and make it a good thing by saying kind of what Mike was saying, is that it's a mastermind and we're creating it together with our, the collective minds together. We're making this something that has never been done before, and also I would use the credibility that at least we're following time-proven systems or something like that. Say something about like what makes it so awesome. Like you're working with this real estate agent who has X amount of experience, who has a lot of great things, So add some credibility in there, Because then the way you answered it, it seemed kind of like like there was no credibility there at all, and it was just a guess, like you're guessing, or it's like you're dabbling into it, So
yeah, that's good feedback.
Awesome. I'm glad you like it. Good. So let's get to let me hear the other ones. Just say the two other ones, or you can, I'll let you choose another one. One of these topics if you want, or it could be another skeptical question.
Well, this is good feedback for me. I'll stick with skeptical questions.
Okay.
I feel like I can navigate those. So my second question was, how do you know the system works? Kind of a follow-up question. I guess it's the same question as the first one, really. But I have a different answer, so maybe that'll be helpful. Well, I've probably invested at least $50,000 in classes, trainings, and coachings over the last 4 years. So my students don't have to. I'm taking everything that I learned from some of the top entrepreneurs in the world, and I put it into a class format, which is exactly what Tony Robbins did and Zig Ziglar. It's taking all the bits of advice and making it into a simple system.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah. So that answer, I mean, I'm going to just jump ahead. That answer was perfect for the last question too,
Greatly improved.
Mike, okay. Go ahead. I'm sorry, you got cut off. Say it again.
Greatly improved. Much more impact.
Okay, good. All right, so then I really only have two because I didn't notice that those are really the same question. The second one, this is a big one for me, but you didn't make $1 million in real estate. I'm glad you brought that up because that's not actually my unique value proposition. And this is a teaching moment. My unique value proposition is that I can take complex processes and make them into simple and easy to use processes. And I've done this many times in large organizations, and I've had my system serving as many as 15,000 employees. And that's a good example, and I'm glad you asked that because what I teach my students to do is to articulate their unique value proposition.
All right.
Hey, this just hit me, guys. This is, talk about controversial. Here's a controversial one. I'm going to plant this for you, and you ignore it or take it or leave it. But you didn't make $1 million, but there's a guy who made $1 billion or more who opened a real estate class called Trump University, and it was a huge scam. Okay, so just because you made $1 billion or $1 billion in real estate doesn't mean you're teaching the real deal. And so what you're about is about, mentoring and peer-to-peer mentoring, real world and mistake avoidance, not just getting sold from on high in a white tower.
Awesome.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, so you might want to steal that. That's really good.
Totally writing it
definitely,
down.
I mean, how many of you can relate to that, by the way? That question comes up a lot with a lot of coaches, I guess. Raise your hand, yeah. I mean, people want to, you know, they know, that's a big, huge objection. It's like, you know, if you know, have you made $1 million doing this? If not, then, you know, why should I even work with you? You know, I mean, it's not about how much you've made all the time. It's really about how well you can lead them to make that much, you know, for themselves. All right. It's great. All right, cool. So Melody, was that helpful for you? Did this feedback help you?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
All right, great. And cool. So keep building on those lists, Melody. And yeah, we'll have more time next time for sure. When it's when it's a smaller group, you know. So let's get into someone else who wants to share. Just go ahead and unmute yourself and say, I do. Going once.
Okay, I will.
Okay, awesome. All right, Lucy. So you can choose either of these. Doesn't matter. Which one would you prefer to share and get feedback on?
Well, I have improved myself, I think, since the last time we talked. And I think I was working on the shocking and controversial fact. That was what I talked about last class.
Okay, cool. So let's go with 3 and that you think are the most impactful, the most shocking. And remember to cite your source. Do you have sources by any chance?
Oh, well, it's my own book.
Okay.
It's like a combination of everything I've, you know, put together to say what I'm going to say. Just like 1 or 2 sentences.
Okay.
So,
well, let me just say, can you just say a source? Is there some kind of source or sources that you can say that you've gotten whatever the shocking fact is from?
They're so broad, though. I'm saying.
Give me an example. What's like an example?
Like most popular diets today can be causing you more harm than good. That's shocking. And you said 3rd grade. So
I see what you're saying. Okay.
What do you think?
I wasn't prepared for that, but let's
I
start
think
over,
that really screams for the source.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you've got experience, but I think that is so broad and shocking that it's got to be according to who. I think it really needs that.
There's so many sources, though, that point to that. This is like I said, like a huge broad.
Or you can say
even doing that, even saying there's so many sources, just so it's not just an opinion.
Yeah, you got that? So you can say, you know, there are thousands of sources that say X, Y, Z, whatever, or more and more news is coming out showing that whatever, you know, blank.
Okay.
Just say something like it's coming from someone else, you know?
Okay. Sure. Okay.
You want to practice that right now? You want to just...
Let me see. I have a few others. Let me see if one fits.
Okay. Well, let's go with whatever the one that you mentioned, because I didn't catch it. Or whatever you think is the best. And again, choose what you think is the most shocking.
Okay. Well, if we go with the one I just used, I could say most popular diets today can be causing you more harm than good, according to current research coming out on the brain.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay. Brain science research.
Okay. So
I like
how about
that.
we cite, just say the source in the beginning.
Okay.
And then say the shocking fact. So it ends with the shocking fact. Okay.
Okay. So according to current brain science research, most popular diets today can be causing you more harm than good.
Okay. So let's get audience feedback. How many, raise your hand if it was super impactful. Just raise your hand so I can see everyone. Okay. I see 2 people raising their hand. And
I like what I really liked was when you brought in another way to look at diets. That was cool. The neurological look at diets, I thought was the best part of that statement.
Okay.
Whole new look at diets. That was cool. That's interesting.
All right. Nice. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. Let's see. Armed and good. I like it. Yeah. It's good. I'll give it a pass.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, no comment there. I mean, it's real good. So let's go to another one.
Okay. Well, we can go to my biggest problem area next, which is my USP. Why would you work with me instead of my competition? I've always had a hard time with this. So I'm an exercise physiologist and a nutritionist with an MBA. I have been involved in executive management, 2 health clubs and spas, and for the Department of Defense. And then I became an entrepreneur. I've helped hundreds of people to get healthier, improve their health, and watch their performance in work and life catapult along with it. And I can help you as well.
Okay. Well, those are, I counted like about 3 or 4 different talking points in that.
Okay.
Like we're just going for like one sentence, and these are just things like one thing to build onto another. Just FYI, but it's okay that you shared that. It's good.
So I guess like I would say like I have 12 years of education, and that combined with my work, I have 20 years of experience, and I've helped hundreds of people in this area. Is that a USP?
It's close. Like you're almost there. So you've helped hundreds of people in this area. It's too broad. Well, what's the special thing that you've helped them with?
The special thing I've helped people with is improve their health and their performance and productivity along with it.
Okay. Yeah, it's much better. Definitely.
Can I comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
To me, the wedge and leverage that you have that most people couldn't get into, that really makes you eye pop or stand out, is I have X number of years of experience, enough to get me to work for the Department of Defense of the United States. So you don't get in there without cred and serious knowledge. I mean, I think that's the perception. And I think if you did that, then you also had access to cutting edge stuff that maybe the public doesn't know, doesn't have access to. That was just, and then you've applied it in the real world outside of the Department of Defense. But I thought the two was education, powerful enough to get into the Department of Defense, and then how you've applied that in the real world. So you've got info nobody else does. Nobody at just a club has. You got it from the Department of Defense. Powerful stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I second that 100%. That is definitely a huge thing. I mean, I don't know anyone else in the Department of Defense other than you. That's a rare title,
That's funny. That was one of the first positions that I had. And I guess the secret is that they're far behind, man.
Oh, really?
We don't know maybe that's why they brought you in.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
You got that? That was, yeah. So they brought you in because they needed that help, I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
They could have brought in anybody, but they brought you in.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Okay. So I'll sharpen that a little.
Yeah, I would definitely run with that. Like, so the point, anyway, just keep building on it. And again, think of things that's part of your success stories also. The success stories will help you figure out what makes you unique and what makes it, what makes you better than anyone else teaching whatever you teach, So like your anything you've accomplished, keep building that for sure. The more of these you have, the more success stories, that will definitely just build up, help you find out what makes you unique,
Okay. So build the success stories. That'll be the next thing I do. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody.
Right on. You're welcome. So we're going to get back to this in a moment. I want to put it on hold because Mike has a really awesome event to go to. So we're going to start the interview process. We're going to practice our interviews. Let's get that going. I'm going to stop this sharing. Okay, cool. Now I can see everyone. All right, y'all. So you guys ready to be interviewed? Yay. Yes. Are you? All right. Well, whether you are or not, you're going to be interviewed. So let's get into it.
I'm going to pretend I'm a radio talk show host from Chicago. So if you guys can creatively localize your answers, that would be cool. If you can't, don't worry about it.
Yeah. I guess that's a bit of an extra challenge.
Yeah. That's what we're here for, right?
Yeah. So who wants to go first?
It's tougher than it's easier when you're...
Well, who wants to go first? All right. You guys like me calling on you? I don't know if that's... All right. Well, let's see. Let's check with Becky. Becky, you want to get interviewed?
Let's see how we can do here.
All right. Great. By the way, Becky, have you been working on your list? I don't know. I don't remember you being on the last call, but
I missed the last call, but
okay.
Yeah.
Just curious. Well, yeah. So you'll catch up, and either way, we'll help you, with your messaging. So Mike, you want to get started interviewing Becky Hez?
Yeah, I'd like to give Becky a tip up front. She's got so much experience, and honestly, you've got such a beautiful smile. And you are so charming of a personality that I think anybody would love to have you as a coach. So I think if you can kind of convey that, show it. You know it, and we know it, but they've got to see it. So I'm just saying that I think that's a real standout thing for you. You really got a beautiful smile. Anyway, because if I'm putting my career, my life in your hands, my business, I want to know that, you're somebody I want to be around and have knowledge. I know you've got the goods. So anyway, okay. Now, Becky, okay. We're back now with Becky Hess, and a lot of us in this new economy, folks, we're having challenges. We have a family member who's lost a job, and I want you to know that, there's a lot of options now out there in the new economy, and our guest today is Becky Hess. Becky, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Becky, there's a lot of people who are going through transitions, and they want to do it comfortably and confidently. Tell me, how do you work with people, and who do you specialize in working with today?
Okay, so I've been working with executives probably for the last 20 years. Throw in a few rocket scientists and things like that. But I've helped these people, what I focus on with them is helping them to navigate the personal areas in their life, in their career, and work with people better, work with the conflicts in life that come up in the executives' lives.
Yeah. Now, do you handle people's personal problems or their business problems, or is it a mix?
It's a mix. When I teach somebody how to handle the conflicts in their life, they're better able to handle them in the business setting. They bring those things home to their life. Their whole life improves when they master the conflict skills.
Can you, if somebody was brand new and they were transitioning from, a regular job, maybe and had human resource help, but now they've got to leave that environment. They're going off on their own. How can you help them make that transition? And how can you assure them that they're going to be okay?
Well, the first thing I would do is sit down and find out where they're at, meet them right where they're at, go through what their plans are and where they want to be, and help them map it out. I'm a true believer that the best laid plans make you successful, but they don't always work out the way you want them. But if you don't plan, you don't know where you're going to head. You don't know where you're going to end up. So I sit down with them and do a strategy session.
Now, with all these years of experience, is there any situation that you haven't come across?
I find that there probably is, but
because you got a wide range of skills, ability, talent, and abilities to help handle challenges that people have.
Yeah, and that's what I'm not afraid of conflict, and I'm not afraid to teach people how not to be afraid of conflict in their life.
Well, I think that's what people are looking for today as they make the transition. Now, when people get a hold of you, how do they reach you, Becky? And who do you believe would be your dream client that you would love to work with and see them make a big transition in their life? Who would that be?
I love working with management people who want to go to the executive level, but don't quite know how to get there, and help them boost their confidence, boost what they know they can do, stand in their own power, and watch them thrive and survive in that environment, because it is a rough environment if you're not ready.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, and this is kind of off the record, so you're really helping, your focus ideally is to help people transition upward within an organization rather than out of the organization.
Oh, yeah, I love to help people escape the corporate arena and go out.
So it's both.
Yeah, it just depends on what they want. But I'm a corporate escapee myself. So I love helping other people escape the corporate world and go out and thrive in the world. But if they are not ready and are shying away from the conflicts in their life, they're going to have struggles that they wouldn't have to have normally.
Okay, the strength that I got out of this personally was your consultation mode, where you were more like a therapist, and you were very touchy-feely and capable of tuning in to people. I think that is a great place to start. Because people are human, so they need to feel like they've got that safe interaction if they're going to put themselves out there with you. So I thought that was a real strength for you. That's my take.
And I appreciate you just being patient with me, because this is where I'm struggling, is getting my message out.
Don't worry. We're going to be patient with you. We're going to help everybody here get through this. I've been at the top of the mountain. I've seen pros, and I've helped pros get there. And they're no different than you or me. They're no different than you and me. I promise you that. They know a few tricks of the trade, but that's what we're here to help you with. So don't worry about it, guys. We're on your side. We're going to get every one of you across the chasm right where you want to go. That's for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would recommend, Becky, to catch up on the previous call recordings when you get a chance. Definitely, it's going to help you a lot, because there's a lot of great lessons, a lot of things, tools and models that we share that will help you, articulate your message and really start to click. You'll start to realize, oh, that's what I'm supposed to be saying, or whatever. Anyway, it's really about practice and being aware of what other people are hearing when you're speaking, and what they really want to hear. Being able to say being able to tell what other people want to hear, and be able to say it, out loud. So it's like a way of practicing and getting to that level. But anyway, it all takes practice for everybody, So anyway,
for me, I know.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. And by the way, Becky, another thing.
There's that smile. There's that smile.
Yeah, another thing, Becky, I feel like maybe you might be kind of worried about that. And because you're worried about that, it's coming out. It's in your subconscious, and it's coming out in reality. So like you feel maybe like worried about stuff, or not confident enough in yourself, I guess. And so when you're speaking, it's coming across,
Yeah.
So all you got to do is be confident. And when you're confident, then when you speak, it's going to come out more stronger and more,
I got a very important point on that.
Right.
Okay, let's say I'm a talk show host, okay? I don't know anything about your field. We're really in your turf. You're the boss. This is about your expertise, not about me. I don't know anything. You are so in control. You own this conversation completely. Just remember that. This is about what you know. I'm just asking questions. You're the boss. All that strength is in you right at this moment. It's your turf.
Right on. All right. That's great. That's great. Thank you. Thank you for that. Melody has something to say. Go ahead. Unmute yourself.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, because I heard you talk on a previous call, I think that your credibility is a strong point because you are an expert. You were advising people at the very top of their career within the largest organizations. And I don't remember hearing you talk about that on the interview, but that's a major credibility point. And what you have going on is you're what people don't expect. You are this conflict expert, and yet you are non-threatening and approachable. And somebody who feels that they need help with conflict would not feel threatened by working with you. So you're like, there's people who work in the real estate industry, and I call them anti-sales people. And the clients that they get are like the best clients because they're not your typical salesperson, what you would expect. And so people just trust them because they're not the typical salesperson. And I think there might be something there for you because you're so, you're an expert in conflict, but you're like anti-conflict at the same time. So I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, that's great.
I agree.
Really Becky, I want to write that down because that is really awesome. It's like a soundbite.
Yeah.
Something, it could be your tagline,
I'm an expert in conflict, but non-conflict?
You're approachable.
Yeah.
Approachable.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a controversial thing as well. Not controversial, but very, can't remember the word I'm thinking of, but it's not what we're expecting.
Confrontational. Not confrontational? Is that it? The word
that's not what I was thinking, but anyway, it's just never mind. Whatever. I shouldn't have even said anything. All right. Well, hopefully that was helpful for you, Becky. Was it?
It was.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And again, really go through the recordings because it's the exercises they're gonna really build up to really help you get like much better at this.
Well, darn it, it's about time I did that. Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You're in charge.
So let's get to someone else here. Let's see here. Who wants to volunteer? We have time for maybe 2 more interviews. Carl? All right. So Carl. All right, go ahead. And now Carl, Mike, do you remember what Carl has, his program? Do you remember his book? It's a method for investing, making a... Carl, do you want to explain it? Very short, very briefly.
It's a book about how to reimagine capitalism at the capital formation stage, and called the fair share model because it balances and aligns the interest of investors and employees in a public offering.
Right on. And all right, while you're doing the interview, I want to challenge you to, again, work on share some of the things that you have in your list, some of your talking points. Try to throw in something shocking or something like a myth bust or, problems related to that, etc. And of course, another reminder, I'm just telling you this because I know you've been on all of our calls. Remember to mention the what you've done before, your previous, credibility, and then how the problems have shaped the way that you're doing what you're doing now. Why you wrote the book, right? Just kind of throw them in there. I just wanted to just kind of share that, remind you.
All right.
And if we can get everyone else to just, pay attention and see how, give some feedback at the end, okay? So Mike, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Carl, I'm an expert at crowdfunding, crowd sharing, and we're in the sharing economy. You've got a very provocative title in the fair share model. Within this new economy, can you help us to put this new concept that you've created or found or developed into context for us?
Sure, Mike. Nice to be here. So the entrepreneurial economy to me means that there are a lot of startups, basically. Startups can't usually fund themselves out of operations. They need investor money. So more and more in companies at an early stage are considering raising capital from public investors, non-traditional venture investors. Crowdfunding is all about that. Crowdfunding is the use of the internet by a company to solicit investors in their early stage companies. And so it's a slippery word, concept of crowdfunding, because it's more of an innovation in how to sell stock. The fair share model is more of an innovation in how to structure deals.
So this is not really for the general public.
It is for the general public. I actually think of the fair share model as a discussion where readers start to understand more about valuation, capital markets, and the like. And the more information they have about how capital formation works, they're going to be better investors. They're going to understand what issues their companies are going, the employer is going through, and they'll be a better employee or more savvy employee.
Who would you like to read your book?
It's a book about anyone who's interested in ideas about new companies, attracting investors, anyone interested at the macro level about economic growth, job creation, anyone who's concerned about where the economy is going.
And why did you write the book? That's what I want to know. So, is it to get more consulting work, to reach a broader audience, to create more public awareness?
I see it as a movement book. By analogy, think of the discussions that we saw around the world in Western societies, primarily in the early 1700s, about alternatives to feudal government, where there was rule by kings and queens and bloodlines. And the idea was, is it possible to have representational government? There was decades of thought and discussion about checks and balances, for example, how to partition the exercise of power into different branches of government, how to structure who would be representing. That type of discussion takes a while, and I see the fair share model as because we're in such a pivotal time in our economy where basically there's so much less expensive labor across the world that's threatening jobs and the types of jobs that economies like the Chicago area, the Midwest where I'm from, depend on. And so we're in this new period of time, and the more that people understand about how capital formation works, the better they're going to be able to participate in it. I'll tell you one thing, that when I began working on the ideas behind the fair share model about 20 years ago, I was in Washington, D.C. for an SEC conference on small business and the SEC. And we had a speaker at one point who was the head of the Small Business Administration, and he gave me a shocking fact back then, which was that there was more job creation coming from startups, young companies, than from the Fortune 500. It was hard to believe 20 years ago, but it's even more true now. In fact, I saw a report from the Kauffman Foundation that's more recent, and it made the statement that without startups, there would be no job growth in the United States.
Now, let me ask you, do you have a copy of the book? Is it published?
I've got a manuscript that's going into design right now, and it will be available for reviewers in about a month. Okay,
great. All right, so do you have any of the artwork or anything?
Artwork inside of the book is pretty stable at this point. I need a cover design, but I've got an idea as to how that might work. It actually, one of the chapters is for people who think that capital formation may be too difficult of a subject for them. And there's a chapter devoted to make them feel more comfortable. I have a number of analogies, and one of them is think of capital structures as art. I describe how I experienced art in a museum. I kind of get close to it, kind of move from different perspectives, read a little bit about it, and over time, I understand I'm seeing more from a piece of art than I would normally do it. Capital structures are a bit like that. And so in that section, I put a picture frame, and inside there's a conversation. There's two figures. One is the entrepreneur, and the entrepreneur is talking to an investor and says, I have an idea, but I need money. And the investor replies, if I give you the money you need, what will I get for it? That conversation of what is the value of an idea is at the core of capital formation. Because companies that are raising capital from investors, whether it's private or public, generally don't have a product, or they need money to work on developing it. If they have revenue, it's insufficient to allow them to fund their companies. So there's a social need, a broad social need for more people to have a sense of how capital formation works.
Let me stop you, Carl, because I really want to have time to hit a point. You've raised a point that I think is monumental. It's huge. I really believe this. You've taken, this is very, to me, important. So many people have so difficult of a time confronting capital. It freaks them out. They can't really get their brain around it. But your comparison, and I would start there. I have this chapter about making it simpler. And then when you started talking about it as art, I thought, man, that just let down the fear curtain. I thought that was beautiful. I get close to it. I look at it from this angle. You know, art is not so intimidating. It's not so scary. I think you could run for miles with that alone. I really do. I think that was huge. And to start, I think that should be the first thing out of your mouth. Well, I get it. It can be very scary, but when you look at it like art, it's fun. It's interesting. Like art, you look at it at different angles. It's not intimidating. I thought that was very cool for me.
Well, thanks. Let me share one more with you from that chapter, and it's about sex. I say it works for cars and beer and might work for capital formation. And the idea is that if you think about where society was in the 1950s with respect to attitudes about sex and sexuality, and compare it to where we are now, you'd say, wow, things have really changed. But biology hasn't changed. It's just the way we think about it. So what I'd say is that where we are now in terms of how we think about capital structures, which is basically how ownership interests are divvied up, is the equivalent to where we were in the 1950s thinking about sex and sexuality.
So you're kind of the Hugh Hefner of money.
Dr. Ruth. Or the guy who
he's from Chicago, right? He's probably the guy that brought sex from where it was in the 50s
that's right.
to where it is today.
Yeah.
Right? So that's just a story for you.
I've got a fun fact for you, though.
Well,
and
just keep in mind, Carl, that Mike needs to leave in about 3 minutes. So
okay.
I want us to give some feedback here. If you give
I'd like to hear what other people say.
Yeah. So one thing I want to say, I mean, that went on really long, and I allowed you to keep it going just to I wanted to see if any good things came out. But in the actual interview, you want to be, this is like my straightforward advice is like, you got to just answer the question and that's it. Just try to silence yourself, let the interviewer, because they're the one running the show, let them ask the questions, give them a chance to interact, And the other thing I want to point out, did anybody hear, hold on, did anybody hear something about Carl? Sorry, I had to mute you there. Anybody hear something about Carl that gave him credibility? Does anyone?
A little bit.
Yeah, there was a little bit of it. I didn't hear much. I heard when you were talking about you were at an event talking something. I can't remember. I think it was SEC, right? So I mean, that gave you some credibility, just the fact that you went to something related to SEC. But I didn't know anything about you being a CFO. You didn't mention anything about that. You didn't mention anything about your background or anything, and that's the most important thing that you need to mention right up front before we even say anything else. Now, Mike asked me.
Yeah, but here, was I answering, Mike, your question?
Yeah. Let me just
but it's not just about, like Omar is saying, it's not just about answering my question. It's about serving your mission. And you've got to take charge. Even if I ask something, you've got to make it your mission to get your message across despite whatever I ask you. So don't serve me, serve yourself.
Yeah, so I was just going to say that, no matter what question they ask, the first question they ever ask, whatever it is, other than, hey, welcome, all right, after that, the actual question, anything, doesn't matter, right? You got to somehow weave in your background. You got to say, well, Mike, for the last 20 years, I've done this and that and this. And so because of that, I found blah, 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 blah. As long as you mention your background and your credibility in the beginning, that's your goal is accomplished. And now everything else is liftoff. Do you get that? It needs to be at the very beginning, always, just get used to saying that. You get used to saying your background, you were a CFO, you did this and that, you've helped this and that, and you found whatever, fill in the blank with the answer to their question, as long as you start with your credibility. So I want to just say, Mike, I'm giving you permission to get on your phone and head over to the event if you want to do that,
Yeah, okay, guys. I will hop on the phone. But Carl, I thought that was so brilliant. I really did. I thought it was just great. Really like that. I hope the rest of you guys did too. But thanks, Carl, for putting yourself out there. Good job. Appreciate it.
Right on.
I'll call in, guys.
I totally agree as well. And usually that's what happens is the really interesting stuff happens later into the conversation. So, that's part of this practice is give you the opportunity to do that, to get those talking points out. And I'll just turn this video off. and then get to the, get those really good points out. And when you have them, you figure out like, oh, did I just say that? That was pretty good. I should write that down, and then have that ready for, the next practice session or interview. Yeah, let's get some other feedback. So Melody, I see you raising your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. I would call you Professor Sjogren because you sound very intellectual and very knowledgeable on the radio. So I did want to make one comment. So I liked what Mike said about the analogy. And I also liked the more jobs are coming from startups than from big businesses. So that's part of the new economy too. There was one point where he asked who should buy your book. And I thought that it went abstract at that point. Well, anyone who's interested in ideas. But later on, what you said is the better that people understand capital formation, the better they can participate in it. And I think that that's the key, is that crowdfunding has made it available and possible for anybody to invest, and anybody is investing. So everybody needs your help, because now suddenly it's available. Either you could be participating in a startup, or you could be investing in a startup yourself. So I think that links it to the whole group.
Yeah, I like that. Thanks for sharing. Now, I also want to comment on that. Like what you did was you really did broaden the audience by saying, and I don't know if this is from my feedback from last week, but this book is for anyone with ideas. That, like, by saying that, it's everyone. It's not just entrepreneurs or investors. It's anyone with an idea. So that I think was really good, because you broadened the audience, and just kind of need to like maybe work on it a bit, kind of say it a few times out loud to like figure out the best wording for it. But yeah, I mean, the other feedback is like it seemed kind of abstract when you were saying that, and it was a little kind of like hard to track, hard to follow. What are you, like, who is this for actually? Because it wasn't very clear enough, I guess. It wasn't really like it wasn't written out and just clear as day, you know what I mean? So it seemed like you were I can't really even remember the actual words you were saying, but it was a lot of them were just kind of going over my head. It was like capital, like even the word, what was it again? Capital formation. Is that what it is? So you kept saying, like, I don't even know what that means. I don't know the definition. So most people would not know the definition of that, So just say, for example, raising money or whatever it is, making deals, like keep it very simple, easy to understand for anyone, All right, cool, Carl. So is this helpful for you? I mean, I hope you don't feel like you're, getting beat up or anything. Yeah. So I mean, you've improved tremendously, honestly, from the beginning. I see a lot of improvement. I see you adding these talking points in there. You added the problems, micro, macro. You put you put some shocking statistics, a fact in there that was really shocking. Good stuff. The main thing, remember, is make sure you have that credibility thing in the beginning. Right on. You're doing good. All right, cool. So let's see. We have 10 minutes left. I'm gonna give you guys I'm gonna let you guys decide. Would you rather practice your interview or practice more of the talking points so you can go back to the whiteboard?
I like talking points.
Who said that? Melody?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to practice talking points?
Oh, not me.
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah. I appreciate the votes. So anyone else want to have any other requests? Just, I can't hear you guys, so.
I'd say talking points as well.
Okay. And Becky
I
says,
concur. Talking points.
Okay, great. Thanks. All right, well, talking points it is. So let's go back to that. All right, so showing my screen again. Who wants to share one of your talking points? I know, Lucy, we left off with you. Was there one more that you wanted to share, or actually, I think you're good, right? for now, right, Lucy?
Actually, there was one more, but I can let other people go since we have a little.
Okay. Are you sure, Lucy? Are you sure about that?
Well, okay. I have a question. I do have a question and a talking point. It's not on the list actually, but I'm just going to go ahead and go with it. Okay.
Is it a skeptical question? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's that Mike is always asking, in the beginning, how are we helping people in the newer economy, or how are we involved in the new economy and that kind of thing. And so I'm not sure about my answer there. Okay. And I would love to throw it out to you guys to see if you think it's relevant.
Okay. Sure. Yeah. And just so you know, there is a video about all of this. The first 2 modules, or the first 2 weeks, we talked about this. It will definitely give you
Well, I know what the new economy he's relating to, but I'm not sure if my answer is.
Yeah. Let's go for that. Go for it. So.
Okay. So what I would say to that is that the new economy has created a lot of information right at your fingertips, with the internet, and there's a lot of people that are available to give you their advice. And it's also creating a lot of confusion, especially in terms of how you take care of yourself and your health. So I help people to get grounded in knowing their bodies and knowing how food interacts with their bodies through self-observation and self-experimentation, so that they know what's right for them, not in general what's right for everybody.
Right on. Yeah. It's great. Yeah. I really love that. I would just kind of get the little more emphasis on, self, what is the word he said?
Self-experimentation or
or whatever else, anything with the self.
Yeah.
Whenever you said self, it was it sounded like a question. I just want to, help you kind of put emphasis on it, So, that's a great example. That's great. There's so much information everywhere. It's confusing everyone. So what I do is help people not look outside for help, but look at their self, blah, 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 and self healing, whatever it was that you said.
Okay, great. Okay, so you think that's a relevant answer?
Definitely, yeah. It's a great answer.
Okay, great. Thank you.
At least from my opinion. Let me hear, does anyone else want to give feedback for that? Anyone want to share? Go ahead, Melody.
This is Melody. Yeah, I liked it. I also think that you solved 2 problems. So there's a lot of information out there, but you not only help people with their own unique dietary needs, but you also help them with productivity in another aspect of their life. So I think that's unique as well.
Oh, did I say that too? Or did you just get that from what I said?
No, you said it earlier. Yeah.
Okay, so you're reminding me that maybe I should say that there. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea too. I like that.
Okay, thank you.
And Lucy?
Yes.
You're giving them the personal experience so they can build confidence in what they're learning.
Yes, exactly.
And that's important, because most people just listen to everybody else and get caught in problems instead of learning to listen to themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I would even mention a problem of or more of a symptom of a problem, what happens when you take advice from the general forums of people that are not really, don't know what they're talking about, or they just heard it from somewhere else, or whatever else, what happens, what are the consequences? People can get sick, whatever, they can end up in a hospital, etc.
Yeah, examples. Okay.
Yeah.
I like what Becky said too about the personalized experience, because information is definitely part of the new economy, but maybe part of it is that everything, because there's so much information out there, everything's kind of depersonalized. And so the new problem that you're solving is you're bringing it back to the personalized experience again.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it.
Right on. Awesome.
Excellent angle, Melody. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So Lucy, was that helpful for you?
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks. I'm
Great.
glad I did that.
Hey, Lucy, this is Curtis. One other thought is this whole idea of knowing and trusting yourself is something that most people aren't very familiar with. I think emphasizing that you teach people how to know how to trust yourself.
Okay, that's a good point too. And you're right. A lot of people aren't familiar with that, Curtis.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Curtis. So anyone want to share their, this is the last chance. Anyone want to share 3 of these things, any of them, and get some feedback? Just unmute yourself. Anybody? Carl, you don't want to go?
You're saying, am I still on the things on the list here?
Yeah, things on the list. So do you want to share?
Yeah, I'll share one.
Okay. What will they be?
A myth bust.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
So many people believe that the Securities and Exchange Commission has a quality test for companies that have a public offering. For instance, the company must be a certain age, have a certain amount of revenue or profit. But a former SEC regulator told me, you can sell stock in a dead horse as long as you disclose that it's a dead horse.
All right.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. So let's hear from you guys. Anyone want to give some feedback? Just let me see your hands if you think that was interesting and arouse your curiosity.
Yeah.
Are there any examples of maybe businesses that should have gone through your process but didn't, that are kind of shocking, like the dead horse example that you gave?
I think the shocking thing is that there's not a quality control thing. It's that basically they're looking for a disclosure requirement. So the assumption is that if you disclose everything, if you disclose that it was a dead horse, you wouldn't invest. But when you think about biotech companies, for example, routinely they go public before they have any product. So you don't even know if they have something. There was a shocking fact, I think, in the last few weeks, where there was a company called Theranos in the Bay Area that turned out to be a bust, but it was a private company, and it was considered a Silicon Valley unicorn. It could have gone public a few years ago. I say there's 2 basic risks for an investor in early stage companies. One's failure risk and the other one's valuation risk. The company's not going to succeed. That's the failure risk. Won't do what it says it's going to do. And valuation risk is you overpay. And you can overpay for a successful company.
Right on. Awesome. So I want to give you a quick feedback. Just want to share this is I really liked it. It was really powerful, and it was a shocking fact and a myth bust as well. So that was good. I would make it more layman's terms as well. So there's no need to mention the security of committee of whatever it is. You don't need to say those long words. Just say most people believe, or most people think that you need your company needs to be actually worth something in order to sell the stocks. But the truth is, whatever person name from the SEC said that you can sell a stock for of a horse, a dead horse, as long as you tell people that it's a dead horse, right? So anyway, I'm just pointing out again, like if you can simplify everything you say into like layman's terms, and the shorter the better. So you don't even need to mention things like facts that are or just words that are not 100% necessary. You know what I mean? So anyway, yeah. But again, that's a great example of myth. Is there any other ones you want to share, Carl?
Here, hold on. Let me see. Yeah, hold on.
Or we can go on to someone else, Carl, if you want.
Myth bus. Let's see. Nah.
You're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for playing. Appreciate it. So I'm going to give one more person one more chance before we wrap it up. So just one final little talking point, something that's really big, you really want to get out there that you think is going to leave some shockwaves on the radio. Anyone want to share? Curtis, can I call on you?
Of course you can.
Okay. Do you have something you want to share with us? A talking point, something, any of these things here?
I'd like to introduce a soundbite.
Okay.
In our booming economy today, 20% of the people have 89% of the wealth, while the remaining 80% has only 11% of the wealth.
All right, Curtis, can you speak up a little bit? It was really low from our end.
Okay, very good.
Just say that one more time.
Yes.
Thanks.
In our booming economy today, 20% of the people have 89% of the wealth, while the remaining 80% has only 11% of the wealth in the U.S.
Okay. So, show of hands, how many of you felt that that was impactful for you? Just raise your hand. I want to go around the room and see. Keep your hand up if you're raising it. All right.
Well, we kind of know it's a common term for business people, but it's also a good soundbite, though, you know.
Right on. So, yeah, and let me just comment on that. When you were saying it, I felt like you were stumbling to say it. Like it was kind of hard for it to come out. And sound bites, you want them to be pretty easy to say. All right. So, I mean, if it was to me, I would actually label that more of kind of like a shocking, controversial fact kind of thing. But it's not really meant, like in my opinion, it wasn't bitey enough, you know. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just sharing this, you know, from my experience, like what I think, from my opinion, like the sound bites, it's got to be something that's just like really short and just will remain in someone's head for a long time, you know, be very memorable. So you said, like from what I remember, you said 80% of the people have 20% of the wealth, and I might be totally wrong on that. Like the percentage, the numbers, that's what I can't remember. So it's like, for that reason, it's not really, in my opinion, memorable, you know?
Okay, good feedback.
Yeah, anyway, Melody, go ahead. You have something?
Yeah, I just have a question, Curtis. So yeah, I think that is a good soundbite, but I've heard it before too. But I would think that something that is shocking, and I don't know if there's a statistic for this, but what is the percentage of people who have no idea how their investments are doing? And yet how many of us have 401ks or, retirement plans, and our future is dependent on those retirement plans? Something like that might be maybe new and shocking to get people's attention if there's a statistic out there for that.
Yes, great feedback.
Right on.
Thank you.
Right on. Can you just say it one more time, please, Curtis? Like it's really bugging me. I gotta get these numbers right.
The U.S. economy is booming, yet 20% of the people have 89% of the wealth.
And what was the other thing?
And I decided to stop there because
okay.
your feedback said to me, I said too much for it to be a soundbite.
Okay.
The first time.
Yeah, then it's not a soundbite anymore.
Yeah, Curtis, I think that might be more interesting if you could convey how that's changed over time. So if you could have a reference point for a generation or two back, and then maybe talk to what have been some of the drivers for that change, because I think people are going to respond more to a change as opposed to a status. And so you can compare 80% of, so whatever figure you're trying to say that something is off kilter, and maybe it's your standard has never been met, but I suspect you're really more concerned about the change that's occurred over several decades.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah, and just to clarify, sound bites, they are little like things that that they're like quotes, for example, or kind of like poems. They're kind of like poems or like parts of a song almost. It really rings in your head. Like you'll be, I keep saying this over and over. I always get it wrong too. You'll be planned to fail. If you fail to plan, you'll be planned to fail. That is a soundbite. Or
if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Yeah, exactly. So, as an example, it's got to be something that they'll never, ever forget, and it stays in their head. It just jingles, it rings over and over and over. It
kind of rhymes too. It could rhyme a little bit sometimes, right?
Exactly. And so, and it also tells, it says something, it means something. One of the masters, in my opinion, definitely is Joel Roberts at this. Joel Roberts and this other guy named Joe Nicasio. They just have tons and tons of sound bites coming out of their mouth like every second. Like everything they say is a sound bite. So it's like they just been taught, like Joe Nicasio, he has this mentor, really, really big guy, Jay Abraham. And Jay Abraham has all these models, all these like ways of like little philosophies and stuff that he's passed down to Joe. And now Joe has it all in his brain. And so it just comes out, it just comes out so fluently. The reason they come out because they've been ingrained in his head, and they're stuck there. They're constantly going over and over and over again. So anyway, what I'm saying is, Curtis, if you left out that last part, it seems like that last part was kind of the punchline. It's like saying half of a poem and missing the part that rhymes, or the part that people are looking forward to. They're waiting for that punchline. So anyway, don't get rid of the last part. Make sure that if it's going to be in there, if it's part of it, then it's part of it. The goal is just to get it to sound cool and memorable. So get it to be memorable and be able for someone to pass it down to someone else and, know it by heart, So anyway, sound bites are a bit advanced. They're a bit of a tricky thing. And these are things that you really get, like, you have to like kind of like build on over and over, and they start to grow as it grows. It's not really something as simple as it is to say, Anyway, is this making sense, you guys? Is this helpful for you?
It did me. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right, cool. So we're going to wrap it up now. Just to kind of conclude here, this is again the last open house. And those of you who are paid members, I congratulate you for being part of it. And if you are not, just go to infopreneuragency.com/media mentor. And one real quick objection or question I've been getting is there a payment plan? And if you really need a payment plan, we can work that out. We just got to just reach out to us, and we're happy to help you out. It's really important, as you know, to be on these calls live and get the feedback for your personal message. So I don't want anyone left behind. Again, all of you who are part of the program will be here next week, the same place, same time. And we're going to be doing a lot more intimate work together. We're going to have some breakout sessions and all this really cool stuff. So yeah, looking forward to it. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to us. And have a great rest of your week. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. You're welcome. Have a good one. Bye.